everybody, and welcome to the Monday edition of the 4-Star Chicago Sportscast. We are going to sit back and break down what happened on the lakefront yesterday. There is so much to talk about, guys. We're going to get started. I'm going to personally get started with a couple things that bothered me a little bit.
Getting started.
Before I turn it over to the Halas Hall Hangover fellas hanging out, I was my biggest disappointment yesterday going into the game was the lack of creativity on offense. I thought the game plan that Tennessee came in using misdirections, pulling their guard over to open up holes behind J.C. Latham, all that stuff was fantastic. I thought that's kind of where the Bears were going to start with their offense. And we did kind of get to see that towards the end of the third quarter, maybe a little bit. They started a little bit more up-tempo, started going left to right a little bit more. But I personally, for Shane Waldron's first game, I'm going to give him an F. I did not like anything I saw. I know we got to get some familiarity with everybody together still. But the game plan to me was just junk, and it was the biggest disappointment of opening day. We did get a win. It is Victory Monday. We are the Halas Hall Hangover. And I know what you guys thought about what you saw. So let's get into it. Let's start off with DJ Crafty, Dustin Jones. What did you like or dislike from yesterday's ball game on the lakefront?
Well, I wanted to piggyback off of what you were just saying and say, like, the best offensive call that Waldron had in that entire game was that 2-point conversion to DeAndre Swift. Like, that was an actual creative play. They used that misdirection and they moved Swift and they confused the Titans, and Swift was wide open that would have been a touchdown for 60 yards if they ran that from from middle of the field. So I mean, like, there was a lot of concern with the offense in general. Obviously, they did not move the ball. Caleb Williams threw it 29 times, completed less than 60% of his passes, and didn't get over 100 yards. My biggest concern was not the lack of creativity with the offense. It was the lack of stability. It was like the lack of the confidence that they were trying to find for Caleb within that game. They weren't looking to establish the run well enough in my mind. They didn't commit to it enough. There wasn't enough quick get it out passes. You saw in the third quarter when Caleb started to get a little bit of a rhythm, quick passes out in 1.5, 2 seconds, just grab it, get it out. Keenan Allen on those quick outs, those were working, and he started to develop a rhythm. But it seemed like they were calling a lot of downfield stuff, a lot of stuff that they were asking him to win the game with a play. It felt like that's what Caleb was trying to do. And I feel like it's the offensive coordinator and the head coach's job to stop him from thinking that way, from feeling that way, and just say, make the right play, not the big play. So that was my biggest concern with the offense, no doubt, throughout the game, was just they never settled Caleb in. I never thought they called 3 plays in a row that built off each other to get him into that rhythm and find some comfortability. They just asked him to do too much too early, and I think our expectations need to come way down from, myself for sure, need to come way down from what we expect from Caleb to start this season.
If I may, really quick, Caleb Williams' 55.7 passer rating was the 11th worst among first overall pick quarterbacks in NFL history. Matthew Stafford, Troy Aikman, Eli Manning. There's 12 Super Bowls in there, and he was worse than all of them. So
yet he was the first rookie number 1 overall pick to win their opening game since 2002. So that's a silver lining. Yeah, with the Texans. Yeah.
What's your takeaways, Kyle? What did you like, dislike? How was your feeling leaving Soldier Field yesterday, my friend?
I mean, I agree with you guys. The obvious answer is pretty much everything on offense, right? It was kind of a bittersweet game. The Bears won. That's ultimately the end goal, and I'm happy that they did. They're 1-0. They're in first in the division, tied for first in the division. But, man, that was brutal to watch. I mean, I agree with you guys. Shane Waldron, that play calling was very concerning. It had Luke Getsy vibes written all over it.
Yes.
Not only that, but Shane Waldron's number 1 critique coming into when he was coming from Seattle to Chicago was that he was the worst on third downs of any offense in the NFL last year, that being Seattle. The Bears were 2 for 13 on third down yesterday. Not only that, but they had 6 opportunities on third and less than 5, so 3rd and 4 or shorter, and they ran the ball once and passed the ball 6 times. That is not a recipe for success in the NFL, especially with a rookie quarterback. The goal for a rookie quarterback, any rookie quarterback, whether it be the number one pick in the draft or Mr. Irrelevant, is to make it easy on them. Easy, like Justin was saying, dump off, screen passes. But they were using them a long time, and they were using them when I believe the defense knew they were coming. Another thing that kind of worries me is they gave Caleb 2 long passes down the field, both of which Caleb, to his fault, missed on. He missed Keenan Allen wide open, and he missed DeAndre Carter wide open down. That doesn't mean you can't throw another pass down the field like that for the rest of the game. I don't understand it. It's like after he missed those 2 passes, they just gave up on the downfield throws. What they should be doing is exactly what Dustin said: easy pass, easy pass, easy pass, get them into a rhythm, and then take that shot. The Bears' timing was just off in general. I mean, it was just a bittersweet game. It's nice that they're 1-0, but man, there's a lot to improve on next week. A lot.
Brando?
I mean, my overall take was good and bad. The Bears won a game that we wouldn't watch them win a year ago.
Yep.
So that's huge. I mean, we found a way to lose double-digit leads in fourth quarters last year in games, and we scored 24 unanswered points no matter how we had to.
Yeah.
All 3 phases, right? And that's what a football team is. That's what Poles has been doing, putting a team together that's good in all 3 phases. That showed. I like that Caleb made the right reads for sure. The guys he was targeting were the right throw. He just didn't make the throw, which, to be honest, that's the one place I didn't think Caleb was going to have an issue. The speed of the NFL is more about processing the mental aspect of the game. I was really disappointed to see him not do the thing that's most routine to him, which we watch him do. Because I just want to tell the whole Bears nation that might be in panic mode, this guy makes those throws.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what he's done his entire life. He makes those damn throws. That's
Caleb
what he's
was
gonna do.
Yeah. He was telling everybody he didn't feel those nerves, but it looked like he felt those
No,
nerves.
he did. I was saying to people sitting around me,
Yeah.
the people around me were like, "What's your take so far?" And I said, "My take is that a guy's playing his first NFL game, and it shows." Like,
Yes.
that's it, man. But yeah, I agree with Dustin. My biggest issue was the way Shane Waldron called this game, and I didn't have a Getsy vibe to me. It didn't seem conservative enough, where you had 2 targets to your halfbacks the entire game. I thought the reason that Ryan Poles brought some of these guys here, like the DeAndre Swifts and Keenan Allens, they didn't serve those roles. It wasn't schemed that way. Keenan Allen is supposed to be that quick out. Like Dustin said, when that happened, it worked.
Guys, Roma Dunze sprained his MCLs, considered weak, according to Adam Schefter.
Yeah, I was reading about that earlier. They hadn't had the results yet.
Yeah, they just came in, sprained MCL.
But yeah, that's big. We'll definitely get to that. But yeah, I thought Swift wasn't utilized for the role he was signed to play. I thought Keenan Allen wasn't utilized for the role he was signed to play. I thought the role they gave Cole Kmet was strange. He wasn't running routes too much.
They
And
used
he
him as a
wasn't on the
blocker.
field enough. I don't know. That to me, I was watching that the whole game, and I kept thinking to myself, like, where is 85? And and Everett, I've got to wait to see what comes from Everett. It didn't impress. He was on the field most of the game. But yeah, I thought Caleb, most importantly, though, guys, just didn't lose this football game. And that's what I was most impressed with. For a guy who didn't look comfortable in his very first NFL game, with not only the pressure of being the first overall pick and maybe a generational talent, but like you guys just listed, the first overall quarterback who starts his first game hasn't done very good in the NFL. He was against the odds. And when you watch guys like Peyton Manning, you go watch their debut, Trevor Lawrence, Andrew Luck, these guys all threw 3 interceptions apiece. Caleb Williams didn't turn the ball over. He didn't do anything to lose the game, which we're not accustomed to in Chicago. So.
He made a play to win the game, too. That scramble in the third quarter.
Scramble,
He made a guy miss. He didn't slide. He didn't give himself up. He went for that first down. That was
he ran right by a breakdancing Nate Davis.
He got the first.
You don't want your quarterback to throw interceptions, but you also want to let your quarterback have fun out there and be who he is, man.
Right.
A lot of the reason I think the Bears rookie quarterbacks, have gotten off to slow starts is because they don't let them throw downfield enough. Now, I'm not saying I want Caleb Williams to throw interceptions, but sometimes making those mistakes is better for quarterbacks.
Well, a few of those. Here's one thing I'm going to say about Caleb: he's going to learn quick. He has got to throw the ball higher. His defensive hands were hitting that ball all day, and he's lucky. 3 of those balls became up for grabs. Rome bailed them out once. The other 2,
that was huge.
The other 2 just kind of ended up nowhere near anyone, but he's got to
Lucky.
get the ball over the reach of the defensive line, man. That can't be something you're dealing with all year. That's going to cause that always turns into disaster plays, man.
To turn on Gerald Everett played 34 snaps. Cole Kmet played 27. The other thing that really bothered me was the skill position players not being on the field enough. Our backups of Everett, Herbert, and Scott were on the field for 28 to 56 snaps. Our top 5 stars of Moore, Allen, Swift, and Odunze and Kmet, clearly our best 5, played 10 snaps together. Play your best players. You get better results.
What's he thinking with that?
Yeah,
is it versatility? What is he thinking with that? It doesn't make any sense.
Did you guys expect that amount of usage out of Travis Homer? I mean,
right?
I did. I kind of said this like when I watched the preseason. They're using him as a third down back, man. Guys, make sure we hit the like button and subscribe if you're in here. Thanks to Joe Dicka, Bruce, Elizabeth. Thanks for being in here, guys. Keep the comments coming, please. We will get to you, I promise.
I just don't. There's no world in which Travis Homer gives you a better chance to win than Khalil Herbert or DeAndre Swift. It's just he shouldn't.
It's the Waldron connection, though, right there, Kyle.
He was signed as a special teams player by Ryan Post before Waldron got here, and he was signed as a special teams player. They came
but he's on this team now because of Waldron, and Waldron feels comfortable with him, and that could be a problem.
There's no argument to why you're, like Sean just said, your 10 best players were all on the field at the same time.
Should be on the field.
Players 10 times. That's absolutely ridiculous, guys. CeeDee Lamb plays almost every snap. Justin Jefferson plays almost every snap. And then you go look at the Bears, and it's like DJ Moore plays 38% of the snaps. It's ridiculous. There's just no reason for it. If you want to win football games, go look at the recipe that the winning teams in the NFL are following, and follow that same recipe.
I want to say, though, man, in regards to that, though, there's 2 things that you need to win, and I hate to read too far into the one, because winning roster, absolutely got to have it. Winning culture, and the Bears had that yesterday, man, which makes you feel it's when you watch that, guys. So real quick, Kevin Byard speaks after Eberflus gives a speech about he's been on a lot of different programs and coached a lot of teams, and most guys complain. And all the Bears kept saying is, I got you. We got you. We got this. We got this. Which, okay, cool. And they got hyped. But then he gives Byard a chance to talk to the team. And Byard says, like, it's important that every person on this team knows that each unit's going to be there for the next. And he said, don't worry about it, offense. You're going to win a couple of games for us. You're going to win a couple of games for us. And that, that was for those words to come out of him. And then he says, team. It's that, I think it's usually Bears or win. He says team is the chant. So, like, it was cool to see a player who's been on this team for all of one off season being given the chance to speak in the locker room and saying that this is one of the newest players. And he's saying to these other guys, like, this is about being a team. Like,
that's what can't get lost in this, guys. Like, we can get upset about the offense, and rightfully so. It was ass. It wasn't good. But this team hung together. This team made the plays they needed to make to win the game. The coaching staff defensively made an adjustment to stop the run and said, hey, okay, Will Levis, you beat us, and Will Levis sucks balls, so he couldn't. And the Bears coaching staff knew that. So they did some good things too. And like you're saying, Brandon, and like you said in your opening take, they found a way to win a game they would have lost.
Yeah.
Now, those are the types of wins that we see on teams. Like, remember the Chiefs last year when they couldn't make anything really happen on offense? They were very disappointing, but they found a way to play to the strengths of their team and get through the season healthy enough to where when it counted, they were ready to roll, and they had found a winning formula. So whatever that winning formula is for the Bears, we don't know yet, but we do know that they're well coached. They got veteran leadership, and they're a team that's going to play together and play for each other. And that's something that is sometimes, probably most of the time, more important than where the talent is, in my mind.
Well coached, I'm going to just leave for debate because I'm still not sold on Eberflus. I mean, the defense looked ready. He did make great second half adjustments.
On defense, no doubt.
The defense picked up right where they left off last year.
But that offense was very unprepared for this football game, and that was very disappointing. They started, I believe DeAndre Swift had the first 2 carries of the game, and he chunked off yards on both of those losses, and then they never went back to him. And I'm like,
happened?
oh,
Yeah,
you did awesome. Go
good.
grab some bench.
Caleb drop back for a 7-yard drop back, step back, and then let's throw it all the way downfield. Like instead of capitalizing on what they were
And that's
doing.
what I was
well.
kind of saying about Nick
There's
Holmes.
so many things you could. I mean, first, like we just talked about, like DeAndre Carter was on the field as a receiver more than Tyler Scott. This is a guy who never practiced with the once and training camp once. He was never on the field with the starters ever once. And all of a sudden, you get to the NFL in your first game, and you're like, "Well, let's go try DeAndre Carter at receiver and see how." I mean, unless Tyler Scott got hurt on the sideline or something, but you can't.
Nice.
You can't.
I don't know when Rome got hurt during the game, but Keenan Allen was hurt late in the game. He was limping.
Yeah, he limped off the field on that touchdown.
Maybe it was out of necessity that he
Sitting in that stand, from sitting in the stands and watching the blue tent on the sideline, almost every single Chicago Bear got banged up at one point or another yesterday. Matzo Sweat was in there, DJ Moore was in there, Roma Dunze was in there, Keenan Allen was in there. I mean, half the team went in the tent at one point or
What's
another.
important is most of them came back out and kept playing.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say, because I don't want to get too far off that topic, because me and Brandon both brought this up to David Kaplan on the Monday show of Chicago Sports Podcast. Eberflus calling defensive plays, does that distract him from focusing on what Waldron is doing with this offense? I think it's a good talking point. It's at least something worth thinking about, because I want my coach to be overseeing what my offensive coordinator is doing. Right. Now, if you're trying to install a game plan for the defense, that's a whole lot of fucking work. Now you got to oversee Shane Waldron in that offense. I really wonder if he's going to need to pass that defensive play calling to Washington at some point this year to get this offense overseen properly, to where the game plan for the offense matches up with the game plan for the defense. Because that game plan for the offense did not match up with what this defense was going to do.
It's terrible.
You want to run the ball in that game, and they weren't doing that. And Eberflus needs to have his fingers on that offense, from my perspective.
I talked about that on the podcast before. I mean, I do not like him calling defensive plays for the rest of the season. You know, everybody Eric Washington's amazing. He's so amazing. What a great hire by the Chicago Bears. Oh yeah, he's just so amazing that he's not trusted to call plays on defense. It's just it seems like Eberflus is burning the candle at both ends, and it's time to focus on the team instead of the defense. That was not a good start for the Bears offense, guys. Like
it seems like he's holding on to it like his blankie. He's like, okay, this is what I did well last year. This is what got me to keep my job. So I'm gonna keep doing that, so I can at least say I got that. You know,
I don't know though, guys. He's calling the game. I mean, they look. I did not expect the Bears, and you think about it too. They're playing a bunch of young quarterbacks this year with almost little to no experience. But I did not expect the Bears to come hawking the ball. I thought at the end of last year, there's no way that they'd keep that rate of taking the ball. They had 17 turnovers in 5 weeks, or 17 takeaways, and they come into week one. And they pick him off twice, and he fumbled the ball that could have been jumped on by any Bears player back there. They didn't see it, but they could have had 3 takeaways in this game, and they took the ball away on special teams. I mean, Eberflus.
They did
have 3.
Something
they got that fumble, bro.
Something
clicked, and these guys are taking the ball away at a rate I haven't seen on the Bears defense.
Burden's right. He also Levis fumbled on another play as well that the Bears did. He landed right on top of it. So
I think Walker.
They got the fumble. Yeah, they had all.
I was going to say we spent all off season talking about this defensive line and having questions and all this other crap that these guys. Who was going to get home? Who's going to do this?
You could
I
say
think
shit.
Billings, Sweat, Walker, Taylor. And our boy Stephon Dexter got a sack to open up the fucking season, baby.
Hell yes.
Yeah.
He was non-existent up until that point, though. He really was. Yeah, he made that play, and I jumped off
Dexter's
my couch.
Dexter's biggest problem is still his pad level. And until he
stands straight up.
Yes.
Just for the sake of the prior conversation, they ran the ball. Well, I should say design ran, because there was a couple plays Caleb Williams tucked the ball and ran, but they were not design runs. They ran the ball 20 times and they passed it 29. Not a good balance on offense for a rookie quarterback.
Do you guys think that because there was no film on this Titans team with new coaching staff, new scheme, that it was harder for Waldron to put together a game plan?
I think the Titans were clearly. I mean, you know who the Titans players are. You know who Steve is.
You know you have a massive line.
You know who Simmons is.
Quarterback. Yeah. You have questions on the offensive line. You have to play a quick game here. Run the ball, get the ball out, don't put the game in.
And roll him out. Roll him out.
Yeah. You
Like,
know what you
out.
have. At the very least, you know what you have, and you know the players that are on that Titans defense.
Here,
Now, Callahan said that he was trying to stop the run. He wanted Caleb to beat them. So I mean, you got to give a little leeway there with Waldron. If they were selling out to stop the run, then why keep running into a brick wall? I guess you can say that.
Here's my question: how can Nick Holtz look at the Bears offense, come up with this game plan, quick passes, run, quick pass, misdirection, pulling guards? We're sitting here talking about Shane Waldron. He did nothing of that.
It's because he knows what he has. He knows what Will Levis is. He knows what his running backs are. He played to his team's strength.
But wouldn't that be the same for a rookie quarterback?
Yeah, it should be the same for Waldron, right? That's what I'm saying. He should have played to his team's strengths.
I think Waldron has to reel this back. I'm sticking with my F grade for him, and hopefully we see a better game plan against the Texans in
how
6
many
games.
times did we talk about last year with Luke Getsy? We said, hey, look at what Justin Fields' skill set, more RPOs, more rolling out. He did not. Caleb Williams did not roll out at all.
No.
He rolled out on his own after the pocket collapse, but there was no design. There was very few design rollouts in that game. I don't understand that because they did it in the preseason almost every play. It just doesn't make sense, man. That's not what I expected going into this game at all. And I'm not saying that it would have been much better because Caleb Williams is a rookie quarterback, and obviously this Bears offense is not on the same page yet. But they did nothing.
Yeah.
Them to do.
Even when he rolled out, he threw the ball in the dirt. He wasn't accurate.
Yeah.
Even
No, he wasn't. He was not accurate. Caleb Williams did
No,
not.
they didn't make him. They didn't make him comfortable.
Yeah, I was going to say,
You
That's the
have to
biggest
do
issue.
that.
you had 700
When you're uncomfortable, you do
bearing
things
down
like
on you.
that. You throw the ball. Something you've done 1,000 times becomes different when you're uncomfortable. The
Well,
Bears
and
didn't.
two, if you're swinging left to right and you're getting these big guys Sweat at 400 and Simmons at 350, you're
Yeah, those guys are
gassing these
monsters.
guys. You're going to start gashing them up the middle. I mean, if we can sit here and talk about this and just say this should have happened, why is the guy getting paid all this money not thinking up these simple
Because it's a lot easier for us to sit here and talk about it than be in the game, I think. That's a big part of it that we got to – no, but I agree with you. Like, they could have come up with a better plan, and they could have executed it better. But that defensive line between Landry, Arden Key, Simmons, and Sweat, that's a tough one to go up against. And they did a pretty good job of containing Caleb in the pocket, too. That was part of their game plan. They executed their game plan well. They did. You can't take that away from them.
Dustin,
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Was Callahan the better coach yesterday and just didn't win the game?
No.
No?
not even a question.
Unanimous no's immediately.
No, his quarterback threw 2 shovels while being sacked.
You
Like
also,
after the first one, you tell a quarterback,
that's not on the
I
coach.
don't ever want to see that on my field. And they
Well,
did it
Brandon's
again
right.
for a pick
Brandon's
six.
right.
Yeah, he did it again for a pick six to
do that
lose
again.
the game.
You should have gotten intentional grounding on the first one. Don't do that shit again. That's what I would have said. And he did it again, and it turned into a pick six. And that's what ruined the game for. As a matter of fact,
Callahan impressed me. Callahan impressed me for his first game.
I was
I
pretty
mean,
impressed with them.
They had a good game plan.
Well, Sean's
So did
right,
Denard
man.
Wilson.
I
Denard
feel
Wilson had a
better
good
about-
game plan.
if the
those
Titans would've
two
kept the
guys
ball
in the
Will
middle-
Levis's hand, they would have won that game.
That is the worst team for this Bears offensive line
you guys
to play against week 1. They are so strong in the interior defensive line there, and we are at our worst on the interior offensive line.
Yeah.
That's a bad team to run into week 1. I actually think the 2 guys in Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson will be easier for the Bears to deal with than those 2 kids, than Simmons and Sweat. Those guys are monsters, man.
While we were talking about Callahan real quick, did you guys see what he said about his offense after the game?
No, I did not. What did he
If
say?
if we'd have just punted on 1st and 10 every time, we might have won the game.
Yeah, I said that to Sean leaving the game. I said if they just ran 3 and out, ran 3 and out, they would have, because the Bears defense scored all the points.
Yeah, they gave it to him. And I was saying all week, guys, Will Levis sucks. I've been saying this for a year and a half now, but I just knew he was going to give the Bears a chance to win this game on defense.
Guys, it's week 1, so that's all.
No, Will Levis is going to suck in every week after this.
I said that about Bryce Young, and I still believe Bryce Young is going to suck.
Bryce Young did not look good in his
Young
first
looks
game.
awful.
I might be jumping off that bandwagon here pretty soon.
Well, one thing that I don't know, it's just I will say that for being his first game in the NFL, I don't know, Dustin, you probably saw it on the TV better than us because of that game. But when they zoomed in on Caleb Williams before the second drive started, he was standing on the sideline throwing passes back and forth with Bajan.
Yeah.
And he was shaking, man. I mean, visibly shaking, man. You could see he was nervous. You could say whatever he wants about he doesn't have nerves. He was nervous, man.
Yeah, you could see it in his play, man.
And you should expect that. This guy's no different than a human.
Yeah, 100%.
The Bears didn't do anything to change that. Nobody was like, because Kyle, you're saying you can see that from your seat.
So how does Waldron not see it right next to him?
How's the coach not looking over like, I got to make this guy feel comfortable? Like, this is a problem. This is a big problem for me. Like,
it's like putting your kid out to learn how to ride a bike and not starting out with training wheels. And just like letting him fucking fall and scrape his knee and be like, all right, let's try it again. Let's try it again.
He's gonna be like, no, I don't want to scrape my knee again.
Maybe he'll learn, maybe that won't, but that's not the best way to fucking do it, guys.
Jeffrey Simmons was pretty honest of his take of the Bears. He said, what did you see in the Bears offense? Nothing. They kicked 3 field goals and a 2-point conversion. Calling them spectacular? We just got to get to the ball. I didn't see anything spectacular. Their offense was shit.
I love Jeffrey Simmons.
Quote.
He's one of my favorite players in the NFL. That guy is such
bad news,
not wrong.
Bad news for Jeffrey Simmons. Bad news for Jeffrey Simmons, but with a couple of big runs, you get rid of those big runs, and the Titans' offense did not look much better. So.
I agree. Well, there was a point during the game where Tony Pollard, and I think it was into the third quarter, was averaging 6.7 yards per carry.
That's what Dustin was talking about.
Yeah,
the Bears coaches made adjustments.
Yes.
And they shut them down.
That changed the game, guys. Once they decided we're not going to let them run. Let's see what Will Levis will do. That's when you saw what Will Levis is going to do. He's going to give you the game. That was the key of the game in my mind. And then the other key of the game, I thought there was one play in that game that really kind of turned everything on its head, and that was Tremaine Edmonds taking down Tajay Spears on that 3rd and 3. Levis hit him on that crossing route, and Edmonds chased him down, stopped him just short. Titans punted it. Bears went and got a field goal, man. Like that changed that. If they would have just kept that drive going, that game was over, man. Edmonds might have made the play of the game there.
Another guy who helped the Bears' momentum a lot was DeAndre Carter on special teams. He was,
the field position was great. That was one of my biggest concerns.
Well, so let's get to her. Since we're saying the keys to the game, let's get to the 4 stars of the game, guys. We're 4-star Chicago sports. And Kyle, why don't you give a shout out to River Street real quick?
Yeah, guys, we want to thank one of our sponsors, River Street Tavern in East Dundee, 102 North River Street. If you guys are in the area, go check it out. I'm telling you, they have great food specials, great drink specials. It's a great place to hang out. Plenty of TVs. It's a sports bar through and through. You can watch the Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs whenever you're out there. Go check it out if you guys get a chance, man. We appreciate them as a sponsor, too.
And ladies and gentlemen, every Sunday for the Bears season, they will be having winners giving away Bears jerseys. Congratulations, Josh. This week, you got a brand new Caleb Williams jersey. So get out there on Sundays and try and win yourself a jersey and have some wonderful food while you watch the Bears kick some ass. This Sunday is the Bears and Texans Sunday night. I have a couple of questions about next week's matchup, but you want to do the 4 stars first?
Yeah, let's finish up this week.
All right.
No doubt.
I'll go ahead and go first. I mean, my guy was Andrew Billings. I mean, he really changed the game in the against the pass and the run, man. He filled up holes. That guy is just a monster. He's improved every year since we signed him. I really love what he did, and as long as he stays healthy, the Bears should stay very strong against the run because that guy's a beast. We just need one more of him. That would be amazing.
Andrew Billings, I got to agree with you, man. That he was a big part of how they were able to stop that run once he was taking on those double teams, sometimes triple teams, and really opening up plays for other guys to make the tackle on the run, man.
Yeah, and what he did, his impact is not on a stat sheet.
Correct.
That's what people have to realize. What he was doing on that line, you're not going to find in your newspaper. That he changed that game so much. He did it last year in the middle. I love this guy. I actually
one of the best signings Ryan Poles made was
he's a people leader, man.
Oregon signing, and this guy, last year he finished second in Pro Football Focus against the run, and he was one of the cheapest defensive tackles signed in free agency. I mean, absolutely amazing signing by Ryan Poles. That might be one of the best. That's one of his top.
Scott Angel. Nice comment. I like that. 4 non-stars: Nate Davis, and Nate Davis. You can throw Coleman Shelton in there too, Scott. You can throw Coleman Shelton in there too, in my mind.
I
Coleman,
agree, guys. That play where Caleb scrambles, if you guys go back and watch I've never seen a player get so rolled over that his legs fly over his head and he literally backflips on the guy.
I don't know, man. Nate Davis
He was trying to do his best Kyler Gordon impression, bro.
He wasn't great, but he wasn't as bad as nowhere near as bad as Coleman Shelton.
I'll put it this way: Coleman Shelton was the best or the worst player in this game for either team. Plain and
I think
simple.
so. Yeah, I think so too. And what really hurt is that you're looking at Bo Limmer Bo Limmer was starting at center for the Titans in that game, and he was drafted in what, the 5th or 6th round, guys? And he's starting at center for the Titans, and he played a really good game. And that was somebody that I was hoping that the Bears might target in that draft, and instead we signed Coleman Shelton. And
hey, wait. I said this. Should we have taken a 5th round pick, not traded for Brian Bates and drafted a center? And you said you can't have a rookie center in front of a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, but I just changed my mind watching Bo Limmer.
What are you gonna do on Victory Monday?
I've said it time and time again on this podcast and CSP. I like DeAndre Swift a lot. I love the guy. I think he's going to be good for the Bears. But if you had to choose between the two, I would rather have seen him take that money and sign Lloyd Cushenberry, who is now on the Titans and is going to be a very good center for them for the next few years.
Yeah, and by the way, they said it was pregame. I think I heard this pregame somewhere that Cushenberry was absolutely destroyed all training camp by Mr.
Jeffrey Simmons.
Yeah.
Sean, everybody's destroyed.
Everyone.
Yeah, that guy. We should.
Could you imagine being his girlfriend, dude?
We should talk a little more about, because he is
absolutely
an all-pro player and maybe the best tackle. Like him and Chris Jones, that guy does not get enough attention, man.
Who, Jeffrey Simmons?
Yeah, he's on the Titans, so I understand. But like, he is one of the top 3 tackle. In
let's focus on the Bears 4 stars, and then we'll do.
Who you got, Kyle? Who's your guy this week?
I mean, mine's the obvious answer, guys. It's Jalen Johnson. And actually, after the game, Vernon and Sean were having a conversation about next week when the Bears play the Texans Sunday night. And I believe Vernon said that the best player on the field is probably going to be Will Anderson. I believe Sean responded with C.J. Stroud. I think Jalen Johnson might be the best player on the field next week. I think he might be the best player on the field every week. This Sunday, Jalen Johnson had 3 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, interception, and he had 1 catch allowed for -2 yards. I mean, guys, it's becoming almost impossible to throw on Jalen Johnson. He might be the best coverage corner in the NFL. And like we talked about before the season, last year he had the 2nd best Pro Football Focus rating for any corner in the history of the NFL, and he allowed the 2nd worst quarterback rating of any cornerback in the history of the NFL, only to Darrelle Revis, who we all know is from the Hall of Fame, one of the best players ever to play football. Island. I mean, this 4-year, $76 million contract by Ryan Poles for Jalen Johnson is looking like an absolute bargain.
It was a steal at the time.
Yeah, yes. Huge steal. I mean, that was probably the most important player to keep on this Bears team for the last 5 years. The guy is absolutely amazing. You cannot throw to his side of the field. And I know that Tyreek Stevenson has, right now in his young career, he has ups and downs, but throwing to him ain't much better. So Jalen Johnson takes away that number 1 receiver, and they got to go try to pick on Tyreek Stevenson and Kyler Gordon. You're not going to have much better results over there. I mean, Jalen Johnson changes the outcome of the game for every game he's on the field. He's absolutely amazing. And God, I hope he does not get hurt at all this season.
And to back up your point, Kyle, we noticed that when he was missing against Green Bay in Week 17 last week, the defense looked a lot different without him on the field. Who you got? Or you want to go, Dustin?
Yeah, let me go. So, I mean, Kyle's just stepped on mine a little bit. My player of the game is Tyreek Stevenson, man. That guy had 4 tackles. He had 2 passes defended. He had that interception for the touchdown, but he also was on Hopkins, or was it Hopkins or Ridley, when it was like their last real attempt, the Titans, to get downfield, and he threw a slant. Tyreek Stevenson was all over him and made that play to shut that down on 3rd down. Tyreek Stevenson is turning into, and I've been saying this, I think he could be a top 5 cornerback in the league. Now, if you put that on the other side of Jalen Johnson, like I was just saying, where the hell is a quarterback going to throw to? That's why I'm so high on this secondary this year. I think that Tyreek Stevenson turns into a guy who can compete on the same level as Jalen Johnson. You got 2 top 10 cornerbacks, and that just makes your secondary a top 5 unit, man. The the guy was everywhere in this game. I know he had some plays made on him as well, but he fought hard on all of those. He was right where he needed to be, and he just got outplayed on that Okongwu touchdown, you know. But
she just turned around a little bit too late.
Yeah, that's such tough. That coverage was amazing. I mean, that was just a oops that he didn't take that.
Like, hell of a
how
catch.
did that ball get there without it touching Stevenson first?
That was a hell of a catch too.
Yeah, it was. It was. But Stevenson played his ass off in that game, man. And
Sorry, I love him.
I don't. I really don't.
Just the name.
Okay. All right. Brandon, who you got?
Who you got, Brandon?
I'm going to go with the guy that I talked about prior to this Bears game, guys. The guy who I think me and Sean did a show. Was it Wednesday?
Yes.
And
if I may, really quick, guys, Brandon, I asked him on Wednesday who was going to be the guy you were looking forward to bring the pressure on the opposite side of Sweat. He called Taylor. He said a sack and a half, I believe. So take it away, Brando. Great call. He was a monster on the field. That motor, his motor doesn't quit.
Yeah, I think that Darrell Taylor is going to be a major piece for this Bears team all year long. And I thought he looked really – so when they traded for him, I went back and watched some Taylor film. And I remember that snow game the Bears had against the Seahawks last year?
Yeah.
I think it was Bird or somebody caught like a miraculous touchdown in the back of the end zone. It was like the only good point of the Bears season. But Taylor, I was watching his highlights. In that game, he blows up Khalil Herbert. And I mean, like, kills him. And I remember thinking, like, man, that's the guy who's coming to the Bears. Because when I saw that play, I was like, this dude is a machine. But he looks better than he did in Seattle. He is really aggressive at getting to the quarterback. And early in that game, he was handing the dirt, and I didn't like it. I really, you could tell it's not his thing. It takes some time, but as soon as he started to stand up towards the middle of that game, he was back there. Even when he had 2 sacks, guys. He recorded 2 sacks. He's got a sack for every week he spent on the Bears, but he was just in the backfield in general too. He was wreaking havoc for these guys. But I'll say this: I noticed the deficiencies in his running defense. That's why they traded him for a 6th-round pick and why they didn't want to pay him. But yeah, I think he's going to be a problem all year, especially since now he is playing across from a guy like Montez Sweat. We've never really seen Darrell Taylor in a situation where he doesn't have to draw the attention. When he was on the field for Seattle, he was the problem. So, like, he's going to benefit from Montez Sweat this entire season. He's going to benefit from Billings, too.
And hopefully Sweat benefits from him, too.
Yeah, but I think Darrell Taylor, guys, gets that. The Bears finished with 30 sacks a year ago. They were 31st in the league. We said, everybody here, they're not going to be a 50-sack team, right? They need to get around 40, 42. I think Taylor's going to provide that this year. I said it when he was signed. I see between 8 and 11 sacks on the season, and the Bears really need that from somebody. And the fact that Dexter's already got 1 in week 1, I mean, the defensive line guys impressed me. This is a good offensive line Tennessee has. Latham's a good player, whether or not he's a rookie.
He was a monster.
Radun's going down. Raden's going down in that game really changed the tide for the Titans too. When they had to put in that kid out of McHenry to start at guard, like that Dexter just threw him to the side and got right in Will Levis's grill, man. Like that impacted the Titans a lot because he was probably their best offensive lineman up until that point. Dylan Raden.
And I think Skoronski's a really good player. He's a player who I knew wouldn't make it as a tackle, but he's a solid guard. Guys.
The Bears finished that game with 3 sacks, which would put them on pace for 51 sacks on the season.
Oh, sorry, guys. Yeah, I meant to say this.
I was just going to say that we ended the day with 3.
Darrell Taylor also had 7 solo tackles as well as 2 sacks. So, I mean, the guy just had a monster game.
I actually turned to Sean. I looked at Sean during the game, and I said, man, that guy is absolutely disrupting this game.
I believe he was talked about enough when he was acquired. We didn't talk about it. Like
I think he was one of his hits on Will Levis, I believe, was also one of the hits that turned into an interception, if I'm not mistaken. It
was the fumble. He got the fumble.
Yeah, he got the strip. Yeah, the strip. I think he hit him again, but maybe it was almost. I don't know. I know he was in his face all day. all day.
Yeah.
So was DeMarcus Walker. They both had absolutely.
DeMarcus Walker, would you call him your honorable mention, Kyle, for your 4 stars of the game?
Yeah, he didn't. It's crazy to say this because like Sean said earlier, DeMarcus Walker, I don't believe he actually even recorded a statistic, but that doesn't matter when you're talking about the offensive and defensive line guys. As long as they can create pressure and disrupt the timing of the offense. I don't know if this was just like a revenge thing for DeMarcus Walker because obviously the Titans are the ones who gave him to the Bears, but man, he was all over the field, the field.
Nate Davis didn't have a revenge game.
Brennan was saying to Taylor, it took Taylor a while to get going because he was putting his hand in the dirt to start the game. Well, before he did that, DeMarcus Walker was the one applying.
DeMarcus Walker did have 1 tackle recorded. That was on the run, and that was a huge play at the time when he
Walker's
made it.
Walker's also the player. He's also the player I think that hit Levis the first shovel release, where Levis just threw the ball into the dirt, which should have probably been a penalty. I believe Walker was the player chasing him down on that play, wasn't he?
Walker's the guy who was tackling him when he threw the pick six.
Oh, yes. Was it? Okay,
yep.
That's when it was. Yeah, he got him on the second shovel. Yeah.
Yep.
So I guess the star of the game, guys, is Will Levis.
Will Levis is my star of the game.
It would be Eric Washington, I guess, right? They say he's a defensive line guru.
The star of the show was second half adjustments, which we did not see enough from the Chicago Bears. At least defensively anyways. We'll hope that we have some first half adjustments and we're a little bit more crisp in Houston next
guys
week.
We got to mention TJ Edwards, 15 tackles. That guy was everywhere.
Yep.
he should have probably gotten one of these stars of the game.
I agree, Dustin. I got him written down here. 9 tackles, 5 assists, 2 tackles for loss. He's that guy.
He was unbelievable.
That's the best contract in the NFL, guys.
Yep.
That guy should be paid as a premier linebacker in the NFL.
To your point about Taylor, just more testament to Ryan Poles because he traded for a linebacker and made him a defensive end. That's you can see that, know that he's capable of playing that position. It's just a testament to him, man. That's awesome that he did that because I'm not going to lie, guys. When they traded for him, I didn't really know what to expect from him. I'm not going to lie. I don't really know much about Taylor to begin with. But then, you're reading this article and you're like, oh, the Bears trade for a linebacker to play defensive end and help supply pressure. It's like, oh, you're doing this again where you're signing a guard and moving him to center.
Yeah, I know. That's why I think he's special. And that's why I think he is going to get those numbers because, guys, we've been hoping for this every year. When they make that bargain signing for Yannick, when they get that guy last minute who they know they need because they don't have depth at the position, this guy's he was traded for. He's a player that a team liked. Seattle liked him. They just didn't want to.
He was a second-round pick. He
was owed money. They didn't want to pay, so they liked him. So Brian Poles actually got an impact player 2 weeks before the season started at a position they desperately needed.
And they didn't overpay for Judon. They didn't.
Think about that too.
If you look at Taylor's number and Judon's number for week 1, I think Taylor wins that battle.
You guys, did Taylor play defensive end or linebacker in college? Just out of curiosity.
He was like an edge rusher, like outside linebacker edge rusher.
I think in college now they're listed as athletes. It's ATH, athletic.
ATH, yes.
Joe Dicka, Bruce Pham, Elizabeth, Scott Angel, Franco just checked in. Guys, thanks for being here. Hit that like button, please.
What's up, guys?
Love you guys. Thank you for being
appreciate you guys, man.
Who was your unsung there, hero, honorable mention, DJ?
Man, I like I said, I think Tremaine Edmonds made a play there to win to Velus Jones. I don't mention for bumming the game.
We're gonna get to. I'm gonna get to Velus Jones in just a couple of seconds, guys.
We're probably gonna talk about him way more than he deserves to be talked about, honestly. But Tremaine Edmonds, he not only did he make that play on 3rd down and 3 to take down Tajay Spears short of the line. That was an amazing tackle and it changed that game. But he also laid a hit on Will Levis that had Will Levis putting a warmer on his back throughout the game. He kept popping him every chance he got. Will Levis is willing to go put his body on the line, and good for him. I mean, that's all he's got. He ain't got no brain, so he might as well use that body. But Edmonds beat him up every chance he got. Edmonds was the leader on that defense, communicating the plays and identifying what they were doing. I thought Edmonds, though it doesn't show on the box score again, 4 tackles for the day, but he played a hell of a game. I thought I love our linebackers between Edwards and Edmonds. This
Well,
defense is in good hands.
like you said, that flat route for Tajay Spears when he caught the ball and
Changed the game.
a yard away from a first down. I can't
That's
believe they
like-
didn't go for it, but Edmonds made that tackle on open field on a really probably the most athletic player on that team.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he took the running backs receiving out of the backfield and the tight ends out of the game. Him and Edwards and Edmonds took them out of the game. Man. They were not throwing the ball to the running backs a lot, and when they did, it was almost
Very good point. Yeah.
I got an honorable mention, guys. If I can go, or Sean, do you want to go?
I was gonna say, don't steal mine. You could go.
No, go ahead because I don't want to steal you.
Mine, I'm gonna change it up a little bit. I was gonna say just DeAndre Carter, but I'm gonna go with the entire special teams unit, minus Velus Jones, who shouldn't have been out there in the first place. DeAndre Carter, I think, is going to have a huge impact. That 60-yard return he had late in the game, he set us up, unfortunately.
Huge for momentum.
Yep.
The crowd got so into the crowd was getting real quiet before that return, man. I'm sitting out there thinking, like, we're not making enough noise for these guys, man. Like, even Will Levis, when you start hearing the opposing quarterback's play call, you're too quiet. You know what I mean? Like, that guy shouldn't hear himself. But yeah, when Carter returned,
Will Levis's favorite thing to hear is himself.
Yeah, right.
My honorable mention,
Dustin
guys.
really does not like
No, Daniel Hardy. You said special teams. Daniel Hardy had that block.
He blocked the punt.
I was going to get there right now. Daniel Hardy with the block, the scoop by Owens, the touchdown. I mean, Kyle, we've been to a lot of these games over the past couple of years. When he blocked that punt, dude, that's the loudest I've heard that stadium in quite some time. I mean, that place went up for grabs, and that was pretty awesome to feel that.
Yeah, it wasn't as loud as the Tyreek Stevenson pick six.
It was not.
Jonathan Owens is also a really good special teams player. The Bears got another good.
He's a really good football player, dude.
Yeah, he's a guy that's going to make the sure play for you.
Yeah.
My honorable mention isn't even on the stat sheet though, but it looks different to me. Week 1 already, guys. Kevin Byard being there instead of Eddie Jackson is making a difference already to this defense for sure. Eddie Jackson was just a liability, man. And I rooted for Eddie Jackson to stay on this team and get back to where he was, but it didn't happen. Then he looked uninterested. And Kevin Byard, like I said, has given us a hype speech in the locker room after their first win. This guy is clearly a leader. He's been in this league for longer than anybody on that secondary. He was an all-pro. He knows what it's like to win. He knows what it's like to lose. And this guy is going to make sure people are in the right place, man. So he's good for you on the field. He's good for you off the field. But I thought he also defended. I mean, they got over the top of us once with Ridley, and that's what he does. That's his game. But Byard was there. He was there.
He's a hell of a leader. He's a hell of a leader for this team.
For sure.
Did that game give you guys Arizona Cardinals? The Bears are who we thought they were.
It gave me some real 06 vibes for sure. I had some 06
since,
vibes, man, for sure.
Dude, it was the biggest comeback since 01, wasn't it?
I don't know.
17-0. We had.
They haven't had a lot of them, so that wouldn't surprise me.
You know, and I do want to touch on this.
I thought I read that today.
No, because when the Bears played the Falcons a few years ago, and they benched Trubisky, and they put in who was that they put? I think it was Foles.
Was it Glennon?
I think they were down by 21 points.
I think it was Foles. It was Foles.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
they were down by 3 touchdowns in that game. I'm almost positive.
Yep. And again, Dustin, I know you don't want to spend too much time on this, but God damn it, if they put Velus Jones on special teams ever again, they're going to hear me scream. I don't know where they are, but they're going to hear me, man. This is ridiculous. You have DeAndre Carter, you have Khalil Herbert. This guy cannot catch the ball. And he's on
3 years, guys. 3 years.
Yeah, it's not a small sample size at this point.
No, he's terrible. When we did the show about cutting players, he was our top guy. Then we went and watched Hard Knocks, and Morton and King fought for this guy. The special teams guy fought for this guy. Dude,
Eberflus fought for him. Eberflus talked about how his speed was going to impact this team. And I don't give a shit about your speed if you can't hold on to the ball. I'm sorry.
Yes, Ryan Poles turned down a 4th-round pick for Velus Jones, dude.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a steal, especially.
And he talked about it and saying how that's great value.
Zach, we did already talk about Everett being on the field more.
Yeah, Zach, earlier in the show, we did talk. We were not very happy with Everett getting 9 more routes.
But we talked about this going when we watched the preseason, guys.
Yeah,
it was clear that Everett was getting more usage than Cole Kmet.
Okay,
And that's another Shane Waldron guy.
I'm going to pull another receipt out of my pocket. When we had that conversation, there was guys saying, I still expect Kmet to be the guy on this team. I still expect Cole Kmet to make the impact. I think there was two. Yeah, I think two of you even said he's going to have a better season than last. And I said, Mike, I love Cole Kmet. My concern is his usage in the preseason, to me, is going to carry over into the NFL season. And it absolutely did.
Bad news for that receipt and that bet. But whatever they did in the first game did not work so well.
Not work.
They might want to think about pushing those two guys back.
But it happened. They did it.
Brandon,
I'm
going to say this. This is one of these week one overreactions. I don't expect this to play out.
No, I'm not saying it's going to continue. I'm saying it carried from the preseason into week one.
You look at Travis Homer and you look at Gerald Everett. Those are two guys that Waldron says knows his system.
You guys,
and those are guys that he's comfortable with. So that is concerning for a guy like Cole Kmet. And that's concerning for me because I think Cole Kmet's a better player than Gerald Everett. He is. So he should be playing. He should be playing more than Everett.
Let's transition over to our biggest overreactions for week.
Well, real quick, guys, I just want to say this. A lot of people are asking this question online in a couple of Bears forums. If Ian Wheeler wasn't injured, does Velus still on the team? The answer to that question is yes.
No.
Yes, the answer to that question. Ryan Poles loves Velus Jones.
Does Velus Jones have some pictures of stuff that people don't want to be seen? I don't understand. And then here, guys. After he fumbles that, I'm just done. We're all done. That's all I'm seeing on Facebook.
He's back on the
screaming in my seat.
They're throwing him a swing pass. They're throwing him a swing pass on offense, and I don't know what they're thinking. They're just thinking about how his speed can change that game, I guess. But
you gotta have the ball.
Nowhere near as much as a fumble can change that game. The fumble
is changing the game in other ways. Yeah.
Yes.
When Velus Jones fumbled that punt, that I started to get.
That was a kickoff. That wasn't even.
Yeah, it was a kickoff.
It was a kickoff.
And he kicked it. He kicked that fucking thing 10 yards up the field, man. The other team.
I started to get vibes like, oh my God, not the same old Bears again. Please, God. And if Velus Jones gives me those feelings, then he needs to get off the field.
They kick, you catch. You don't kick.
And the defense kept them out of the end zone on that drive when they were like the 20. And dude, Torrey Taylor, what an impact that kid had.
He had 5 punts inside the 10 or something like that.
Good field position.
Yeah, and you know what round he was drafted in?
Man. The Bears were in good field position all day.
He was drafted in the 4th round, which we could have had for Velus Jones.
I'm going to say that if Ian Wheeler doesn't get hurt, that Velus Jones was gone because it was clear on Hard Knocks. Ian Wheeler made this team because Ryan Poles told him, you've already made this team.
Yeah.
Who's not going to be here? Who's not going to be here?
Maybe Travis Homer.
Has to go.
Maybe Travis Homer.
I wish.
I wish Homer and Jones were freaking gone, dude.
I like Chad Morton. Morton was the best character probably on Hard Knocks, and he loves his guys probably too much. Probably too much. He'll defend his guys to the death. That's going to turn around and stab him in the back, man. Because
I was going to say, Dustin, that's a good point. I loved him in Hard Knocks. He seems like a very good coach, and I think his players love him, man. I don't know why he's so obsessed with Velus Jones, but I think he could probably move up the coaching ranks in his career. That guy just seems his players seem
Hightower loves him too.
The special teams coordinator stuck up for him. Eberflus stuck up for him.
He's your biggest problem if you're Hightower.
You need to be careful how much you stick up for this guy because if he fumbles another one of these things, who's Poles going to be talking to?
Dude, position to ever fumble one of these again. That should have been the last
opportunity
right there.
Yes.
Burn, to your point, Hightower had an absolutely amazing game too. I actually was scrolling through football stuff on Instagram, and the Bears did a poll on their punt returns and kick returns. They did a poll where the gunner or the guy who was supposed to block would be blocking the gunner.
Yeah.
Would pull to the other side of the field and pick up a block, and that's the side of the field the kick or punt return would always go to, and it worked every time. And they said
they had it drawn up well.
They said that the Bears were the only team that did it last week, the only one in the NFL who did it, pulled like that, and it was nonstop.
That can put you ahead of the curve if you figure out a rule change before these other teams and how to exploit it. Those are the things that win you games when the other teams are trying to figure that stuff out.
Richard
that's huge.
Hightower is looked at as one of the best special team coaches in the NFL for sure.
Well, he
So
was
is
also
Velas,
Lot of respect for that guy.
is Velas the bum of the game, guys?
yes.
For us?
Him and Coleman Shelton are my
Coleman
two bums
Shelton.
of the game.
I would give my vote for Coleman Shelton.
I'll give them both.
I'll give
But yeah, my another
Shelton
honorable
over
mention.
Nate Davis this time.
Another honorable mention, guys, would have been Torrey Taylor for sure. That guy is
Sure.
already
Guys, you mentioned this. Keenan Allen dropping that touchdown.
the
That
most
was hard
reliable
to stomach.
receiver in maybe football.
That was
Well,
hard to
now,
stomach.
guys, we're going to be dealing with a hurt Keenan Allen, a hurt Roma Dunze, and we're going to fly down to South Texas and take on the Houston Texans with DJ Moore and Cole Kmet and maybe Tyler Scott and
DeAndre Carter? Little
DeAndre Carter. Maybe
magic?
Colin Johnson gets called up off the practice squad.
Maybe they move Velas back to wide receiver.
Oh God!
So you guys, just a heads up,
Tyler Scott's gonna play
DeAndre
more.
Carter had the worst as a receiver, not as a special teams. As a receiver, he had the third worst Pro Football Focus grade of any Chicago Bear at a 49.4.
You guys see
What's
that?
that
comment?
graded on separation?
Here, I'll give Caleb Williams an honorable mention for the way he conducted
Bum of the game. That's what
He kept his
Tom Broncos saying. Bum of
composure.
the game.
He didn't let the moment get too big for him when there was mistakes. I did appreciate that out of him for a young guy in this big situation at home. Maybe it's going to be a little bit easier for him on the road away from the home crowd. You know, sometimes they say that plays a factor, but I'm not going to overreact to too much in week one.
There
There's
has
2 weeks
never
left.
been more pressure. I can't think of a time there's been more pressure on a guy to
Right.
perform at a high level
You guys,
immediately than
let's-
with Caleb Williams for the Chicago Bears.
Let's get into our overreactions because Caleb Williams is part of my conversation. So
Let's hear it. We're talking about it now. Go for it.
Yeah.
Let's
All
we'll
right,
do
so
our overreactions.
I don't know
around
about you
the
guys, but
NFL.
I did 3 overreactions. I'll go through them quick, so obviously everybody has time. But
Let's just do one at a time. Let's go around the horn.
We'll
All right, well,
go
we'll
up,
start-
Mark. We got time.
Yeah, yeah.
we'll start with Caleb Williams. That's my number one overreaction because I was on Facebook and I was on Instagram all day. All these Packers fans, these Bears, Caleb Williams haters, these Lions fans, Vikings fans, they're all posting, comparing all these stats to all different players. Sam Darnold versus everybody. Yeah, bust. He's terrible. He's awful. Like, guys, how many times on the CSP and this podcast did we all say, temper your expectations? He's a rookie quarterback going to his first NFL game against a team who's much better than people give them credit for. Their defense is very competitive.
Yes.
And
that Titans team is bad. Sorry.
that
Go ahead.
Titans defense is going to
Their
end up being
defense is
pretty
not bad.
above
No, they got
average.
some good players there, but they're a bad team.
They're going to finish as, I think, a top 15 defense, but that's beside the point. The overreaction to Caleb Williams is absolutely absurd. Caleb Williams is going to be just fine. Caleb Williams has God-given talent. He does things that not many players in the NFL can do. And he's a quick thinker. He's quick on his feet. He always looks downfield. He had one bad game, guys. One bad game. Let's not the overreaction. And that goes for a lot of players in the NFL, especially some of these rookies. After the week one, everybody was like, "Man, that's a bust. That's a bust. That's a bust." Transitioning to the NFL is probably the hardest of any other sports league in the world. Maybe besides baseball, right?
I was going to say besides baseball.
It's the toughest. It takes these guys 6 years to adjust to the MLB.
Yeah.
But it's one of the toughest, and it's the one with, I believe, the NFL has the most pressure.
The most
you're
exposure, the most
Yeah.
expectations.
and if
No
you're
doubt.
drafted in the first round, you're expected to make an impact immediately.
Did you guys see Daniel Jones getting booed walking out of his own stadium?
Well,
You
Dustin, that's part of this conversation right here.
Yeah.
The Bears fans, ask Sean Brennan, were booing the Bears
Mhm.
offense, and I'm assuming they're probably booing Shane Waldron or Matt Eberfluz, but
The
Caleb
play
Williams doesn't
call
know
in
that.
general, yeah.
Like, I'm looking around at people around us, like, guys, stop the booze. It's week one. I understand you're upset with what you're seeing, and you're upset with the product in the field. right
Caleb
now.
made
But
plays
he's-
to win that game.
Yes, like,
I'll be
Caleb-
honest.
dude. So let's, instead of booing him, we should be chanting his name. Give him a
support your guy.
help him.
I'll be honest. I've been to a bunch of games with Kyle. I've never seen him that mad inside a game at that moment. He was like
Dude.
yelling at people around us.
Yes,
It
I
was-
was like, guys,
It's like- and also the crowd was way too loud the first couple drives they were on offense. That's what I felt
yeah,
that from
you know what? And Dustin,
from
you're right. And
watching
the
it
Bears,
on the couch.
the Bears crowd is the only crowd. Like, no, I shouldn't say the only crowd, but they do that more than any other fan base.
I was like, shut the fuck up.
They cheer
Our
on offense.
kids needs to hear they
the
need to hear
Bears
each
have to
other.
get the play call in, and then when they get to the line of scrimmage and do their audibles,
Yeah.
then start cheering. Well, it's right before live action, but they're screaming and yelling. And Caleb is like, guys, Jay Cutler used to do it all the time too. Guys, I can't hear the coaches. Caleb was doing this for about
Yep.
60% of the game yesterday. I'm like,
Yeah, Bears fans were hyped to start that game, but they need to have situational awareness in that stadium, man, for Caleb to get
and you know
and that
what?
offense to have an advantage.
You guys, we could sit here and we could talk about Caleb Williams' statistics in college and what we think he's going to do in the NFL, but we've done that for the last 3 to 6 months.
That's over.
I'm just going to say a blanket statement. My overreaction for the week, number 1 of my 3, is Caleb Williams. Everybody slow down and temper expectations, and I agree with Brennan. I think Caleb Williams is actually going to end up playing better on the road this season than at home, at least for the first few weeks, because I don't think there's as much pressure there. And when he goes to the Houston Texans Stadium, they want him to lose. They want him to lose. He feels like he's carrying the weight of Chicago on his shoulder. He at least won't have to play in Chicago next week.
And just
I'm gonna.
We mentioned this earlier. His passer rating was the 11th worst. Quarterbacks below him: Elway, Bradshaw, Stafford, Aikman, Eli Manning. They got 12 Super Bowls.
Hall of Famers, guys.
Hall of Famers. So again, it's week 1. Let's not overreact.
Yeah, guys, I'm going to say this too in regards to what Kyle was just saying. The amount of stuff that I'm seeing posting Justin Fields week 1 statistics of the Steelers next to Caleb Williams. If you're on a Bears forum and you're doing that, that implies to me that you were hoping for failure out of your actual current quarterback
Just
so that you could say, told you so, about the guy who's no longer here. And that doesn't make you a Bears fan. That makes you a Justin Fields fan.
It makes you an idiot.
The statistics by Justin Fields were not anything you should be flaunting on social media platforms because he didn't get in the end zone. And it all proved is that the Steelers won a game on defense as well.
But Justin lose the game. But Caleb did the same thing. Caleb did not lose this game. He made a couple plays that put them in position to win. And that's all we could hope for in that game. These games are going to be their own entities when they happen. This game is going to be completely different than the next game. And the Bears did what they had to do to win, and so did Caleb. So reacting that he's not going to be a good player, that's a huge overreaction.
And think of the quarterbacks that have lost games in their debut. First overall picks: Peyton Manning, Trevor Lawrence, Andrew Luck. These guys single-handedly lost football.
It's the toughest transition in sports besides baseball, man. The quarterback position in the NFL. I mean, to Dustin's point, all these people are like, look at Justin Fields rushing. Yeah, Justin Fields rushes for more yards than every other quarterback in the NFL besides Lamar Jackson, guys. He's always going to rush for more yards than Caleb Williams. That doesn't make him a good quarterback. That doesn't mean that he's a good quarterback.
But that could make him a winning quarterback in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and you can utilize that, and you can play to his strengths.
Tomlin can utilize that for sure.
But I'd much rather have a guy who's looking downfield all the time and makes miraculous plays like Patrick Mahomes or like Caleb Williams did in the preseason. And I think that's coming. Guys, just be patient. But Vernon, what's your first overreaction of week 1 of the NFL?
The wrist injury is finished Burrow. That's my biggest overreaction. I watched a little bit of what I could. It isn't good. I don't know. It just doesn't look the same, man. I have no doubt that Joe Burrow can figure it out. But that's my overreaction. Is like I saw a different Joe Burrow than I've seen. He hadn't played football in a long time too.
I'm gonna have to blame it on those all orange uniforms. I'm gonna have to blame. Yeah, no, these are our overreactions. That's what we're working on. Our overreactions. And me and Kyle both picked the Bengals to win the AFC North, and I believe go to the Super Bowl. So I'm blaming Game 1 on those all orange uniforms. We're gonna chalk that up as a loss. Don't bring those fucking things out again, and let's move forward. All right, because they did not look good, Brandon. That one killed me on my bets.
It was rough.
Well,
like I said,
I actually watched the Bengals next week as they take on the Kansas City Chiefs. So
yeah, could start out 0-2. That's what they do every year, though, ain't it?
It is.
They start out 0-2 when they went to the Super Bowl, or was it 0-3?
Yeah, the Bengals are. I'm gonna say I think it's gonna be an overreaction. I think the Bengals are gonna be just fine as the season marches along into the later months.
But that did hurt our Sean. We had New England winning 2 games.
Hold on, time out though. When the Bears beat the Niners in week 1, we were like, "Oh, we're gonna lose." They wound up winning one more game the rest of the year.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
I knew the Bears sucked that year.
But I do want to say this: overreaction or not, the injury has impacted the way he's throwing the football. It is.
Dude, I had on my overreaction list here. One of mine was Patriots versus Bengals, and I just one thing. I mean, I didn't get to a chance to watch the game, and I will go eventually watch it. But you have to understand, man, Teagan's was out and Jamar Chase was playing, but limited basis, and he didn't
Hasn't been
participate
practicing.
in training camp or
Yeah,
practice.
hasn't
So,
been
I mean,
practicing at
it's
all.
almost like Joe Burrow was playing.
I think that
And they had
their
2
off-season-
fumbles, and they didn't play anyone during the preseason.
Their
Zach Taylor
offseason
doesn't
was
play
derailed.
people in the preseason.
Their offseason was derailed. Guys, let's talk real quick. Zach Lipsy is throwing his overreaction in. We do want to get to the chat, guys. We appreciate you, Zach. My favorite is everyone talking about how Jaden Daniels, how good he was. He's Fields 2.0. His yards per attempt were 2.3 lower than Caleb.
Yeah,
Both
I mean,
very low.
listen, that Buccaneers team. I mean, I picked the Falcons at 8-9, and I picked the Bucs at 8-9. I had them both right there, and like whoever, I think the Falcons win in the division. That Buccaneers team looked really good, but he ran in for 2 touchdowns, guys. The Commanders are going to be a bad team, it looks like.
That's what worries me about Jaden. I like Jaden Daniels.
He's going to get hurt. He's going to get hurt.
But he keeps doing that. Jaden Daniels is tiny. He's a tiny little guy. I mean, I know he's tall, but he is really
super elusive.
Well, him being tall makes him
watch.
He did average almost 8 yards a pass in the ball game. I mean, that's not terrible. I don't know what his average depth of target was, but he finished with a 7.7 average.
That goes with Lamar Jackson too, guys.
He is a fun player to watch.
He is.
Jaden Daniels is going to get it together with his passing the same way I expect Caleb to be honest. I mean, I like your overreaction. I like that take. But I think Jaden Daniels is going to do all right, guys. Once he gets his feet underneath him.
I think Kyle, your overreaction was like
through some dimes. Once he gets comfortable, dude, watch out.
What's your overreaction? Your first week 1 overreaction, Sean?
Well, this is going to be a nice talking point for you, gentlemen. I'm not overreacting to Sam Darnold's 12 for 12 start. He finished 19 of 24 with 2 touchdowns. His ADOT was 8.7, and he had 208 passing yards. His career average is 187 per game. I still think he's going to be what he is, and the Vikings are still going to be a bad team. They don't play the Giants every week. The schedule is going to get tougher. The Giants are an atrocious ball club. And, I mean, he did.
We all picked the Giants to be 3rd in that division, though, at like 6 wins. Yeah,
I picked them to be
last.
The East is a terrible division outside of the Eagles and Cowboys. The Giants and Redskins are going to be awful teams. But I'm not going to sit here.
You just got us canceled, man, saying the Redskins.
No. So, hey, there's a petition to get that name back right now in Washington.
Yeah, there is. By Native Americans, actually.
I still, you are who you are in the NFL. Sam Darnold's been here long enough. Maybe Kevin O'Connell is the quarterback whisperer, and maybe he could continue passing for 208 yards a week. Still don't think that's going to win you a lot of games in the NFL, my friend.
Justin Jefferson is going to get his, though, and Sam Darnold is going to be the one getting it.
Let me ask you this.
Those stats might be there.
Does a guy who – do you guys – like Josh Dobbs got into their building 15 minutes before a kickoff, got put in the game, and they won.
Yeah.
Josh
Does
Dobbs
it surprise you?
Does it surprise you
with an entire off season with O'Connell that a guy could step into the system and would win football games? That shouldn't.
Yeah, but he didn't do it
at all.
He didn't do it with Kyle Shanahan. I mean, listen.
Well, he didn't really have a lot of opportunity to do it with Kyle Shanahan.
But I mean, the Niners also don't just give away good player. If they really liked him,
he wasn't taking the first reps with Kyle Shanahan. He was placed into a game.
I still see the Vikings being a bad team. I agree with you, but I could see Darnold throwing up some stats, man, throughout this seson with that offensive coach and with the weapons around him. If he stays healthy,
he's got one of the strongest arms in the NFL too.
I'm going to be honest. Next week's going to be a disaster.
Let's touch him when there's more press coverage on the receivers, because I don't know if you guys watched any of the highlights of that game, but the Vikings receivers were wide open, man. Hopefully, he played the Bears. They're not going to be wide open like that, man.
Let's just say this. Next week when they play San Francisco, we'll see how Sam Darnold is.
No, then
the Texans, and then the Packers, and then the Jets. I don't see them winning a game for the next 4 weeks.
The Niners.
I can agree with that, but I can still see Darnold throwing up some numbers. Is all I'm saying.
And the Niners' biggest flaw.
I think he's a backup. I think that's what he is. He's not. Doesn't belong in the NFL. He's a backup. He belongs in the NFL as a backup.
For sure.
Yeah. And you know what, you guys? Technically, everybody.
Wait, can I ask you this? Who has a better season, Darnold or Brissett? two backup
100%
quarterbacks
will
playing
finish.
as
Darnold.
starting.
I'll
Darnold.
go with Darnold because he at least
Darnold.
has Justin Jefferson.
Brissett,
Can turn
Brissett's
it-
going to get benched.
Yeah,
Brissett's going to
Brissett's
get
gonna
benched.
get benched,
May's
dude.
going to be playing.
Yeah, he's not. He's going to bench by week 4, man.
We'll see about. I don't know when. If they keep winning games, now
Yeah,
that
they
changes
just won a
things.
game.
I didn't expect that either. I guess.
Hey man, my overreaction is the Patriots are going 17-0.
Wasn't that Ramondre Stevenson who got that win though? In week one?
Ramondre Stevenson had a hell of a game
That's
for
the
sure.
Bengals'
And their
concern.
defense played really well. Christian Gonzalez played really well against Jamar Chase. That was
Yeah,
probably
Ramondre Stevenson
to
and
rush.
J.K. Dobbins both just came into week 1 ready to kill.
So
people.
now let me jump into my overreaction
go
because
ahead.
I called this on our last week's show. The Chargers are going to the playoffs, guys. The Chargers look fucking awesome.
Chargers.
J.K. Dobbins running all over people. Gus Edwards still filling in.
I've had
Vlad
Harbaugh written all
McConkey
over
got
it.
in the end zone. Justin Herbert had to make the throws when the Chargers are fighting. Jim Harbaugh's like, "Hey guys, break it up, but also keep doing that a little bit because like that's what I want my guys to do." Jim Harbaugh immediately changed the identity of this team. These guys were pansies last year, man. This year they ain't taking shit from nobody. Chargers beat the hell out of the Raiders. The Raiders were supposed to be that team that Paul Pierce was going to be, Antonio Pierce is going to be the punch you in the mouth guy. No, that's Jim Harbaugh actually, and that's the Chargers. And I see them winning at least 9 more games this season and making it into the playoffs.
But
That's my overreaction.
I like that take, Dustin, a lot. You know, I think the Chargers are very capable of winning. I actually said in that division, I think the middle two teams will kind of both be competitive. But there's one thing that everybody was talking about yesterday is how great of a game J.K. Dobbins had. Hey, listen, man, nobody's ever said J.K. Dobbins was not talented. That is not the problem. That's not the problem.
No, he needs to stay healthy.
It's going to be if by week 3, if he still has an ACL on his right knee. That's the question.
Sean asked me if he should play him in his fantasy league because he's on his bench, and I said, "Well, he's going to play great for like 1 or 2 snaps."
Not this Sean.
No, my brother.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Right.
he's just a risk you take, man. He is.
I really like that take,
he's
though, Dustin.
He's a
You
good
did
downhill
call it.
runner.
You did say
But
that.
he's not going to stay in there, and he's not going to finish this. I hate saying this because I don't wish this upon players, but what
Gus
are
is
the
going to be
odds?
irrelevant, Zach, until J.K. Dobbins gets hurt, and then Gus Edwards becomes pretty necessary, just like with the Ravens. Same deal.
Does it, to Dustin's take there, does it not pain you guys? Does it hurt you a little bit inside that the Bears could have been like, you know what, we're going to draft Caleb Williams and fire Matt Eberflus and hire
Jim
Jim
Harbaugh could have been
that would
the
have been
Bears head
like the
coach.
best offseason in the history of the Chicago Bears if Jim Harbaugh became the coach with Caleb Williams at quarterback. That would have been absolutely amazing.
Can I give one more overreaction?
Let's hear it.
It's a fantasy overreaction.
No, don't steal my thunder. Don't you dare, dude.
Don't overreact to the tight end situation in week 1.
You're killing me.
Trey McBride, Dalton Kincaid, Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, Evan Ingram, Sam Laporta, 25.9 fantasy points.
Mark Andrews is done, dude. That's not an
I'd say
overreaction.
like
Mark Andrews
6
ain't the
points.
guy.
And I will take a bet on that with you any day of the week, Brando. The biggest overreaction is Isaiah Likely is going to just make Mark Andrews.
No, Likely is
Isaiah
taking
Likely's
over on that
been good
offense.
for 2 years. He's a good
Andrews is
football player.
done, guys.
All right. I think Andrews is slow rehabbing from his car accident, and he was used as a blocker because that offensive line was atrocious against Kansas City.
I think he got in a car accident because his leg doesn't work anymore. He fell over after
He just couldn't hit the brake. He couldn't move his leg from the gas to the brake.
Hey, well,
he fell over after catching his only pass of the game. He was 3 yards from a first down.
All he had to do was turn around and fall the other way.
Fell.
For a first
turned
down.
around
Here, guys,
the grass flew out from
You
under
guys, you could both be right. I think there's a happy median. I first of all, I do believe that I said this when Sean and I did our tight end show. I do believe Isaiah Likely is a very good player, and I said he was going to dig into Mark Andrews' pockets, and they were going to find a way to get him on the field because he's always been
good.
Said.
He should have played more.
I agree,
forever.
but right now he's kind of playing almost a hybrid slot receiver role, tight end and slot receiver.
He can do everything. That's what makes him a phenomenal
Mark
football
Andrews
player.
is still capable of catching touchdowns, and at some point this season he's going to do so.
They're going to play them both. They're going to use them
not
both.
just going to be like, you know what?
Okay, I'm going to just
done
let
with
the
Mark
hold
Andrews.
on, guys.
Utilize
This is
every good
fantasy.
player
This
you
is
have.
fantasy stuff. Let's not lead people in the wrong direction. Mark Andrews and Nick Chubb are not going to be anywhere near the same player that you watched 2 years ago. These guys have suffered injuries that if you're not a professional athlete, you don't even recover from.
Nick
Brennan,
Chubb's recovered from this
Yeah,
injury.
Nick Chubb's had the same injury before.
Yeah, he's already
before
recovered
he had his career. Before he had
And
his
what
amazing
happened?
career. He had the
It
same
It happened
injury.
again.
He came back and he was dominant.
Yeah,
And
he was
got
down.
injured
He was the
again.
best running back in football
I
statistically
would leave
for the
Mark
last 5
Andrews
years.
out of your
Okay.
lineup this week. Leave him
So
out of your
we're not
lineup.
overreacting to tight ends. You know, we
Don't
think we're going to have
overreact
better
to the
performance.
tight end. All these guys are going to
performances.
bounce back, and they're all going to have fine years.
Yeah,
They're
agree.
all going to be
I
the
agree.
number one guys
Brandon.
drafted.
What's your next overreaction, boss?
Oh boy. Anthony Richardson, probably.
Anthony Richardson, what?
He had a good game, but I don't think.
Whoa!
I don't think that he's. I don't know. That Colts team looks really good, man. I said to you guys, Shane Steichen's going to get the best out of this kid for sure, but I'd pump the brakes a little bit. If you have fantasy options and he's there, but maybe look at the defense he's playing more than just a plug and play every single week. But
So are we overreacting to Anthony Richardson as a good player, or are we overreacting to Anthony Richardson as a bad player? Which way are you going with that? Like,
as a quality fantasy start every week, that's my overreaction.
Oh wow!
you don't think he will be, or
No.
you think he will be?
No, I don't.
All right. I got him in the 10th round in our league, and I should have started him this
You
week.
didn't start him.
Yeah, no, I think he's going to be doing this
Hey,
all year. I'll
all
take
about
that.
perspective.
Justin, I'm very happy that you didn't.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
very
Me and Sean are in a tight one right now. Cooper Kupp kicked your ass last night. We'll see. what
Yeah,
Debo
he
does.
killed me, man.
I got like a 13-point lead.
I like
I think you need
Brennan's,
13, just about 13, like
I like Brennan's
33.
overreaction.
You ain't getting it.
I want to say this real quick because I said this to Sean yesterday after the game, and we talked about it this morning again. Anything, whether it be fantasy or like, for instance, the Bengals and Patriots or any of these upsets where you guys did not expect a team to win, but the other team did. And all these people are like, oh, look at man, this team's going to suck. This team's going to be good. Oh, this fantasy player is going to suck. This fantasy player is going to be good because what he did in week one. You guys, look at it. You have to look at it with the right perspective. What happened this week in the NFL or fantasy, these matchups, if they happen in week, if the Bengals were 7-1 and then they lost to the Patriots and we're 7-2, nobody would give a shit. Nobody would care.
No, I kind of would. That would be concerning.
Well, especially without, say, T. Higgins played the first 6-7 games and then got hurt and didn't play for them, and Jamar Chase was out for 4 or 5 weeks and that was his first game back. Nobody would care, man. They'd be like, all right, well, that's a tough loss.
This is more fun if we actually overreact.
No, what I'm saying is just take everything with a grain of salt, man. Week one is always weird. We've talked about this. We talked about this before the game started. It's always weird, especially for the away team. Going to away on the road and week one is tough. It's tough to win in somebody else's house week one. It is.
I got an overreaction based off of what you're saying, Kyle.
Yeah,
because this team was a 2.5-point underdog going on the road. And everyone want to stay away from the game. Nobody knew what was going to happen, but the Cowboys beat the brakes off the Browns.
They did.
They beat them in every aspect of the game. The Cowboys looked like the best team in the NFL. And here's an overreaction I want to throw out there. Cowboys are a Super Bowl team, guys. The way they looked, nobody is going to beat them in an important game if they play the way they played with the weapons and the
Can I say
players
something
they
really
have.
quick? Isn't Mike McCarthy still their coach?
Of course.
Then I won't count them to win anything.
Mike McCarthy's won 36 games in the last 3 seasons, boss.
Yeah, but no important ones.
Does he win the important ones? No.
I mean, he won a Super Bowl in Green Bay.
Yes. If Aaron Rodgers had
Listen, did you guys see the suit Dak Prescott came walking in that game with?
I did
He
not.
spent $75,000 on that suit as soon as he signed that deal. He was like, I'm getting a fresh fit to walk in today. They got nothing but good vibes. They paid CD, they paid Dak, and now they're about to pay Micah, man. I don't know. They looked fucking good. Now, I'm not saying I believe this, but if we're doing overreactions,
Sure.
That's the one that came to my head right after that Chargers one. That Cowboys team looked dominant. That looks like a team that can compete with the Chiefs.
You know what's not an overreaction? Deshaun Watson sucks.
Deshaun Watson is awful.
That's not an overreaction.
Yes, no. He was seeing ghosts, dude.
There's a washed up quarterback right there, Brandon.
I would be surprised. I would be surprised.
Joe Flacco again, right?
No, they signed.
Got a trade for him.
No, they signed.
They got Jameis Winston.
James Winston. Yeah.
They got Jameis Winston.
Jameis Winston
like Jameis
throws a better ball.
Yeah, I like him as a backup. I don't like him as a starter, but he can win games if he has to.
I give you something that you probably shouldn't overreact about is that Bryce Young sucks. I think that guy is not going to pan out for the Carolina Panthers, man.
Yeah, no, I think he's gonna get benched this year, guys. The way it's looking.
You want to hear an overreaction?
I've been on his bandwagon. I've been pushing for him, and
I said at the beginning of the year I thought he was going to have a good campaign with Dave Canellis, but geez.
13 of 30 with 2 interceptions, guys. No, was it 30 or 33? He had a awful game. Oh my god,
that's too much. Why is he passing that?
He was
much?
13 of 30 for 161 yards.
2
average
interceptions.
ADOT of 5.4 yards.
Yeah, and all you Saints fans out there, you don't be overreacting and saying you think you're a great team.
Yeah, don't. Carolina sucks.
They're awful.
Overreaction. Saints are going to the Super Bowl.
Overreaction. Panthers get the first pick in the
Did
draft.
Bryce Young?
It's in New Orleans, guys. Kendrick Lamar. You know.
Did Bryce Young have the most attempts this week?
Ooh.
That's a recipe for disaster.
I feel like Stroud and Richardson both had a lot, but I'm not sure on. But yeah,
Why the hell?
Stroud was at 32. Stroud
Yeah.
had 32 attempts.
Why would Bryce Young throw the ball 33 times?
Richardson
because
9 completions.
the Panthers.
I said this on the show. You guys, the Panthers have a losing culture because their owner's an idiot.
He's a
pompous piece of shit, and that team's going to suck for a long time, and they're going to continue to make the wrong move over and over and over again. They should have drafted C.J. Stroud, or what's his name said. Frank Reich told them to draft C.J. Stroud. They told him no. They drafted Bryce Young. They always make the wrong move. It's not a good football team. It's not a good sports organization. And it's not a good business, and they're not going to be good for a very long time.
Yeah.
They need to.
And they just lost their defensive tackle for the season, I think.
Well, the upside, Kyle, is that they might have the number 1 overall pick again, and they can actually use it.
I still think the Patriots are going to be in that conversation, but yeah, for sure
The Patriots are definitely going to be in that conversation. Really
so are
quick,
the Giants.
One
Yeah,
more.
but the Patriots
are
don't draft a
terrible.
quarterback, so
The Giants are
still get a
so
quarterback.
bad.
Guys, I know, Sean, you're about to get into something, but since Brandon just said that, watching the Hard Knocks offseason with Joe Shane and him saying, "Oh, we'll just let Barkley walk," and Morrow being like, "You know, it would really fucking kill me if I see him go to the Eagles," and then he goes to the Eagles and it's 3 touchdowns in his first game with them, and the Giants have Devin Singletary who couldn't put up 40 yards. I mean, Joe Shane's getting fired, guys. I don't think that's an overreaction at all. Joe Shane will be gone.
That was one of the best Hard Knocks. I loved that Hard Knocks. It was all inside the meet. It was all inside the actual.
It was just fun to make fun of Joe Shane. He was just awful.
Here's another overreaction. Dable is not a good head coach.
Dable's going to get fired too.
He's lost his locker room. That team's terrible. They should finish with the worst record in the NFL.
He might be bad. I mean, he's not. I don't think he's the best coach in the NFL, but the reason he might be looks so bad is because the team is terrible.
Yeah,
it's not a good team. He has Joe Shane making moves for him, and he's like, "Oh, no, it's
Daniel
not."
Jones got paid behind his pen. Dude, he was part of a lot of the decisions this organization made.
Definitely part of the Daniel Jones decision. That's for sure.
I was going to say, dude, when you signed Daniel Jones as your franchise quarterback, you signed your death warrant.
If you're a head coach, you go to your GM and you say, you don't let Saquon leave. You pay Saquon
100%.
what Saquon needs.
I don't think
Could you imagine Saquon and Malik Neighbors in the same offense?
He doesn't have that leeway. That's what I'm saying. He also, as much as Brian Dable, this team sucks.
He's not a good head
GM.
coach,
we also, as a GM, who prioritized trading multiple draft picks for a defensive end and then giving him $155 million instead of signing the player that's been loyal to you and the best player and the one who's filling the seats for the last 6 years and is still obviously a very good player and scored 3 touchdowns for this division rival week 1. He wouldn't give him $37 million.
I love this Kyle. Keep this Kyle.
Can you give me a reason?
Joe Shane is awful.
What's the support behind Dable being a good coach? His 9-8 record.
I'm not saying Dable is a great coach.
I don't understand. He's a losing coach.
They won a playoff game too that year.
They did win a playoff game.
He loses
with Daniel Jones. They won a playoff.
It's Daniel Jones.
Jones.
That's the problem. I think Dable could be successful if Daniel Jones wasn't under center.
Yeah. Did you guys watch his? Did you watch any of that game? Daniel Jones is awful, dude.
So is DeVito, but he won like 4, man. It's not that team is not good, and they're not coached well enough to be good.
There you go. You just said DeVito won 4. Get Daniel Jones off the Giants.
So you think if DeVito's the starting quarterback of the Giants this year, they're a winning football team?
Listen, you just said we said get
Are they a winning football team?
Listen for a second. We just said,
I know what I
get
said.
Daniel Jones off this team, and they would be much better off. And then you countered that and said, Tommy DeVito came in and won 4 games.
Yes.
That tells you exactly what you need to know. Dable's not that bad, and Daniel
And my
Jones
point
sucks.
is, they didn't start the quarterback who won those games because he won't win either.
I mean, at least DeVito can get you some good gabagool.
All right, I have to.
More of them.
I gotta Google Brian Dable's record.
Gabagool.
Hey, well, you do that. I'm gonna also say, don't overreact to the Ohio State Buckeyes receivers' performances. Olave, Jackson, JSN, Samuel, McLaren, and Harrison combined for 8 catches for 55 yards this week. Holy hell.
That's what Neighbors did on his own.
Right? Here, I got a question. For Arizona, you use your top pick on what's supposed to be the prototypical next top wide receiver in the league.
Yeah.
And then you don't utilize him. As a matter of fact, I saw a couple highlights where he was running downfield, waving his hand in the air like I'm open.
Well, didn't he drop one? Didn't he drop one at the one point? And the other thing, Sean, is like we don't know if he's running the right routes because we don't know what the route
that could be true.
Kyler Murray literally just looked away from him intentionally, is what it looked like to me. And that had to be for a reason because Kyler Murray is not going to just not throw the ball to you unless I feel like maybe MHJ did some shit to piss him off in that game where he wasn't in the right place when he needed him to be, and we don't know that from our end,
Yeah.
You know what his con was? His draft profile con was he had one. And I mean that.
Mark Griffin?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was very often open. So press coverage and physical corners are going to give that guy problems. And
that sounds like a positive that you just said.
I agree with you.
He was very often open.
I agree with you, Dustin. I think there's other rookie receivers that have better seasons than Marvin.
What's going on in that game, Sean? We got to get to that game.
It's 0-0, 11 minutes.
Who's got
Niners
the
the ball.
All right. And we all know C-Mac is out, which sucks for fantasy players. Hopefully you had a backup.
And Deebo Samuel's in the backfield, and there he goes.
I told you.
5 yards.
I got people
Deebo's
texting
going
me
to be
about
getting a lot of running
McCaffrey.
plays with no McCaffrey.
I got people text me about praise, like thank God they didn't take him in fantasy.
You guys want to wrap the show up here?
That's an overreaction.
Talking about the
Who was that? All right, I like this comment right here. That's my guy.
Yeah, I had him over for my for the game yesterday. We were watching it together, and he's retarded. So
there's no way that happens.
It's good to have him in your corner.
Do you guys not think that Isaiah Likely's going to be involved?
I think Isaiah Likely is their number 2 receiver because Rashad Bateman sucks.
I think they're going to use both, but Mark Andrews, the way he looked in that game, does not inspire confidence in me that he's going to be
back off of injury.
I just don't. Is he going to come back? That's the question. Is he actually going to come back?
Again, I'm not going to overreact to a pivotal part of that offense in week 1 when they came out and said he's recovering from injury, but yet he spent the game blocking on the left side of the line because they couldn't stop a nosebleed and Kansas City was destroyed.
Right here, Sean, Dustin, both give us your Mark Andrews touchdown predictions. Let's hear it. How many touchdowns?
I still think he'll be around 6-7 touchdowns.
Sean has him on his fantasy team, so let's just get that out of the way.
I have 5 leagues. He's on 1 team.
Yeah. Well, the one I'm playing you on, that's the one I know about. But I was gonna say 5 or 6. That we're
right in the same. Possible. I think he's gonna have 700 yards and 6
earlier.
touchdowns.
You could both be right. He could be in the middle of what you guys are saying.
Look, I don't think Isaiah Likely's going away, but Isaiah Likely is not your typical move tight end in the NFL. He's not a good blocker.
Yeah, but he's going to be a really good receiver for them, like you said.
That's what I just said. He's going to be their number 2.
And that makes it worse for Andrews, that he's not a good blocker. Because
I think there's a case to be made that you can have them both be involved in that offense at the same time. I just need to see Andrews.
But the reality is, guys, we watched probably the worst offensive line I saw this weekend, and Andrews will continue to be used in the role you just stated and likely will be running routes. I'm telling you this, guys, if you have both these players on a fantasy team, plug Likely in moving forward. I think he's going to be one of the best tight ends in football this year. He's used, the offense was schemed around him and Flowers.
Sean, if you had to choose between, if you had likely,
plan.
hold on, if you had Likely and Andrews on your fantasy roster, and you can only start one, who are you starting next week?
If I can only start one, I don't know, man. I'm not buying into Likely into week one. He's going to get 15 targets a game and 100 yards.
Off of that game, you're still going to start Andrews over Likely next week?
I guess I'd have to look at the opponent.
Hey, real quick. Brandon, I think it was his rookie year. I think it was TJ Hawkinson's rookie year. Brandon drafted TJ Hawkinson, and he was on the Lions. And week one, he had what was it, Brandon? Like 11 catches for 159 yards and 2 touchdowns, I think it was. It was something. It was absolutely insane. It was Justin Jefferson shit. He finished the season with like 390 yards receiving on the entire season. And he played every game. Never got hurt. It's just week one is very. We've seen these games in the middle of the season, and people are smart enough to go, well, that guy's
Likely's not a rookie though. That's a little different.
I understand that.
Okay. Hold on.
Don't expect 111 yards and a touchdown every game, guys.
Brandon, what you're saying is this guy's going to get 12 to 15 targets. He's got 12 targets on Thursday. You're telling me right now he's going to be the
hold on, guys. Of this Isaiah Likely came in with 5 weeks remaining in the season last year. Do you know how many touchdowns he had in 5 weeks?
Without Andrews?
Without Andrews on the field.
He had 5 touchdowns in 5 weeks.
You can say that for
he is a better football player at this age.
Players.
Mark Andrews has been playing for a long time and beat up. Isaiah Likely has not been playing. He's not on the field.
We're beating up this fucking topic.
They're both going to be on the field and they're both going to be productive. If you have to start one, I'm going to say find somebody else.
You guys want to talk about the Bears Texans real quick, or do you want to do that later?
No more overreactions. Nobody's got any more overreactions to week one.
I'm just saying, as a whole, don't overreact to week one because this was a goofy.
Don't overreact to week one, man. I said that earlier when Sean, you were doing something. I said,
that's just not as fun as actually having overreactions, though. But you guys are right. Yes,
I agree
with that 100%. But that's boring.
Well, we haven't done it like 8. You're right, Kyle. We haven't settled.
Yeah, like everybody, the Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews thing will play itself out. You'll see as the season goes on. Nobody can predict, but I think you guys are kind of both. I'm in the middle of Sean and Dustin.
I think we just played it out.
Hey, Kyle, let's save Texans for Wednesday. Yeah, because I have to do some research into that game. I am a little nervous about the Bears. A little bit in that game, actually, a lot of.
How could you not be after that game yesterday?
Are you guys doing
watching the Texans put up 29 points, bro? Like that's.
Are you guys doing anything for the game, Dustin? What are you doing for the game?
I'm working until like 7. I'll be off. I'm looking for something to do. I mean, Franco said he might come over for the game. So I might have. What are you up to?
I don't know yet. I don't know if I'm going to have Brooklyn or not, but yeah, we can talk about that later. Brandon,
who do you guys got for tonight's game?
I have the Niners, but that was pre-CMC injury.
61% of the bets that were made are on the Niners, and that was pre-CMC.
I did not bet on this game as a whole. I did not bet on this game, but I did do very, very well this weekend, and we'll get to that on Wednesday as well.
Nice. I did not do well at all.
I did not do well on my bets either. Mine were awful. The tight ends
was run away on like multiple parlays.
I bet all of my tight ends. I bet on all tight ends, and they all sucked.
Yeah. I got the Niners tonight too. I think the Niners probably pull this thing off. Brandon was saying it'll be a low-scoring game. I don't know. We'll see. But I probably 27 to 23, something like that. What's up?
I got the Niners 21-17.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little more scoring than that, but we'll see. I just want to see a Niners win.
The Niners are off the field, and the Jets are on a 3rd and 8, and we're getting under 9 minutes now in the first quarter. I will like to say thanks to Bruce, Zach, Lauren for checking in, John Franco. Is that Bruce?
Frankenstein.
Bruce, thanks for the updates throughout the show. Greatly appreciate you. You're going to be scoreboard Bruce moving forward. Everybody else, thank you guys so much for joining us. Kyle and I back on Wednesday. We're going to give you some Smash Fantasy plays, some prop bets to go on, and our Houston Texans Bears preview from South Texas. And I believe Dustin and Brandon will be on. Their preview will be on. When are you guys going to throw that on this week?
We'll record it sometime this week. It'll be out by Saturday at noon.
Saturday.
Brandon might be on Wednesday too, right? Didn't you say that?
Brandon, you're coming on Wednesday?
Possibly.
Possibly.
Well, then I guess there's no point in me and Brandon doing one.
Yeah, no, I probably won't, man. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
We'll figure that out. But thank you everybody for joining us. Thanks to River Street. Really quick, we're gonna have a couple big announcements next week. A couple of new sponsors jumping on board to help out 4-Star Chicago sports. We're really appreciative of that. And going on from there, the Bears are 1-0. We're tied for first in the NFC North after 1 week. We can't.
I wanted to mention something before
it's Victory Monday. What's up, Brando?
Oh,
I had my chicken early. I ate it yesterday.
I ate it for dinner. I made lemon caper chicken for dinner today.
Sean, Kyle, and myself, guys, we're blessed enough to be at this game. I want to shout out Brandon Truex for that. But yeah, very cool environment, guys. Feels different. Bears fans are excited about this team. Obviously, we said they were loud even when we shouldn't be, but really cool. Thanks for Sean, Kyle, for bringing me along the South Lot.
Hey.
I did also, guys, get some good footage, guys. So we have to edit that out, and we will get that to you soon, guys. Just did some general conversations with some of the Bears fans about how they felt about this Bears team in Week 1 against the Tennessee Titans. So yeah, we did a couple of interviews. We're gonna get those out into what I'm thinking is shorts, probably.
Yep. And a big shout out to Priya Sundry in the parking lot of the South Lot on camera.
Nailed it.
Chicago Bears to win 24-17. Congratulations,
You
Priya.
rated nothing.
Yeah, and this is no disrespect, but she's like 12 years old, guys. Let's see the interview, and she nailed it. She was
awesome.
Very, very intelligent young woman.
Oh, she knows Bears. You can tell. Yeah, but so we got a couple interviews, guys, with Bears fans at the tailgate at the South Lot. We're gonna get that content out to you guys shortly.
Yeah.
Guys, great job tonight. Great show.
Great job for everybody. Peace and love. Go Bears.
Enjoy your Niners game, man.
Niners gonna win. They'll go change hats.
Pull for you.
Bears gonna win.
Until next week, everybody, we are going to get out of here. But before we do, we are going to send one quick shout out from our
Anything you want to get out there before we wrap up?
Shit, fuck Green Bay.
All right. Yeah.
And on that note, everybody, until next
It's
week.
gonna be every week.
Every week. Peace.
Take it easy,
All right,
guys. Thanks a lot, guys.
Night, guys.